to my channel. My name is Jaden and I make videos on culture and media and just whatever kind of topics I feel like yapping about. So today I'm talking to you about underconsumption core. Now this was kind of a big trend back in like August, I guess. It was all over TikTok, so like if you have TikTok or any kind of social media, honestly, you've probably seen all these videos about like underconsumption. But I want to talk about what's good about underconsumption core and what's bad about underconsumption core, because although at the surface it sounds really good, like, oh my gosh, like people are underconsuming, that's so important, especially after COVID when overconsumption was huge and everyone was just buying stuff and you'd see all these like Shein hauls and these Temu hauls and all this like fast fashion consumption because, no one else had anything to do. So now people are starting to promote underconsumption. But is it really as good as it sounds? So, I'm going to start off by calling myself out and saying I used to be an overconsumer. It was really, really bad, and I have changed my ways for the most part. It's still a work in progress, but I've made tremendous progress since I was 19. So, what is underconsumption core? Well, underconsumption is just like what it sounds like. You are not overconsuming. You are consuming less. What does that mean? It means you're not doing these big shopping hauls. You're not buying unnecessary things. You're only buying things if you need them. You're making things last. You're upcycling. You're recycling. You're just sticking with what you have and what you actually need. Core is literally just a trend word on TikTok. There are so many cores. I'm going to make a video all about cores because the amount of things that are core is actually driving me crazy. But that's for another video. So, is this a step in the right direction? Will it help people be more mindful of their shopping choices? Or is it just a fad and people are going to forget about it and overconsume when they're done with this trend? Let's start with the downsides of underconsumption core. The first thing is that it is not underconsumption. It is literally the normal amount of consumption for people that are in this economy and just work like regular jobs and live like a normal life. Typically with overconsumption, it's always just like influencers and stuff you see that are buying so much stuff, and then people that follow them get influenced by that, and then they just spend their entire paycheck doing a huge haul as well, so that way they feel connected to their favorite influencer. But for the most part, underconsumption core isn't less consumption. It's literally what we're consuming at this exact moment. So if it was to be less consumption, that would mean people are putting in a conscious effort to not buy things. That would mean like not going out for dinner with friends and staying home and doing home cooked meals all the time instead. Or going thrifting instead of going to the mall, because shock to people, which a lot of people don't realize, every store in the mall is fast fashion. A lot of people don't know that. It's wild how they don't know that, but that is the truth. Another issue I have with the underconsumption core trend is the influencers that are trying to be relatable. Think of like the D'Amelio sisters and how they pretended to work at Walmart for a day as an example. Influencers are trying to be more relatable, and I feel like with this trend of underconsumption, they're going to try to promote that, so that way they have the image of being just like you. And then 2 videos later, you'll see them doing some sponsored ad and a huge shopping haul from Shein, and you're just like, yeah, okay, sure. So that's another issue, and I see this a lot with celebrities lately, is where they're trying so hard to be relatable that it's actually kind of insulting to like the average class of people, where like, you work and you work for your money, you don't have time to go on all these shopping sprees and all these trips. And even traveling as well, that counts as consumption, and it's also really bad for the environment if you're going on all these trips all the time. So that's another thing people need to think about if they're actually trying to underconsume. Underconsuming is literally buying less than what you already have and recycling and upcycling the stuff you currently have. And you're not going to buy something new unless you absolutely need it, and you're not just going to go spend money for fun. The other issue I have with underconsumption core is the core portion, where it's literally an aesthetic. That's the thing with TikTok, is everything has to be an aesthetic nowadays, and it drives me freaking crazy because not everything needs to be an aesthetic. If you think about it, underconsumption is the new minimalism. Minimalism is also a trend. Think about it. People are now selling furniture and items that are minimalistic when originally minimalism was about not over consuming. It was about narrowing everything down, just having like barely anything and only the essentials. But now brands and companies are like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Brands and companies are now marketing minimalism as an aesthetic. It's a trend. So instead of refurbishing something you already own, people are just gonna go off to like some wholesale store or like some furniture store and buy something that is literally titled like minimalistic sofa or something, when they could have easily just gotten a sofa from like a thrift store or from a parent or a friend or Facebook Marketplace where people are selling it, and you don't have to buy into that trend. So that's what I feel like could happen with underconsumption core, is that companies might start marketing underconsumption as a trend and people are going to start buying things because they're titled underconsumption, just like minimalism was. The other issue with it being a trend is trends die. So maybe for a month or two, people are going to be all on board with this, but then they're just going to get tired of this trend and move on to the next thing, and all the stuff that they were like actually caring about and upcycled, they might just throw away, and that's going to cause problems with the landfill, and they're just going to throw away everything, and they're going to buy more stuff, and they're going to throw that away, and it's just going to be an endless cycle. The good stuff about underconsumption is that it is promoting a healthier mindset and a healthier lifestyle for people. Some people will actually take this as a learning opportunity. They'll look more into underconsumption and start researching like what is underconsumption. They might realize this is what they're currently doing, but then they might deep dive further into it and be like, oh, I can take steps to underconsume even more, and then that's good. With the economy currently, it is pretty beneficial that we do underconsume anyways. So even just cutting out the big fast fashion brands like Shein and Temu again and just completely boycotting them, that's already a step in the right direction for underconsumption. People are going to start being more mindful towards fast fashion and all these like influencer brands because they're underconsuming now. So hopefully this actually benefits people in some way. So what are some ways that maybe you can be more conscious about your consumption? So obviously there's the point of like not doing ridiculous shopping hauls. You do not need to spend $1,000 on clothes every single month. You don't need to buy new clothing items all the time, every season. You can reuse stuff. Repairing current items you already have is very important as well. So if you have jeans and maybe they have like a rip or something in them, style them up. Do like some patchwork or embroidery to like make it design. Or reuse a pair of pants and turn it into a bag as an example. Shop at farmers markets and shopping locally is always good. And then thrift stores, although I do have a little bit of beef with thrift stores, that is again another video idea I have, because thrift stores have really gone downhill, okay? Like it's bad. Yeah, and just overall thinking before you buy is pretty important. That's something I'm still working on. Like if you are going out with friends, say you're going to like, I don't know, like the mall or like an expo or something, look at all the choices before deciding if you actually need something, and give yourself time to think about that purchase before you buy it. That way you're not just impulse buying, and you just want to like think about like how long is it going to last you, how many hours have I worked, like convert in your brain like the hourly wage you're making towards how much that item is, and be like, is this item really worth 3 hours of my time? And that's just like a smarter way to like kind of go about it. Yeah. So, it was kind of a quick little breakdown because this is my first video and my camera battery is about to die because I did not charge it. In conclusion, is underconsumption good or bad? It's complicated because yes, it's good. I love the message that it's spreading about, you know, being a mindful consumer and not buying into everything. But then the problem arises with the people who are only doing it to be on trend and relatable, whereas they're just gonna forget about it when it's no longer popular, and then they're just gonna go back to being over consumers, which will cause more harm than good. But I'm hoping it has at least reached some people that will take it more seriously, and then they'll actually become more mindful consumers. You don't have to fully like under consume, but just being more mindful, and if it can at least get that out there and like let people know that they're consuming a little bit too much, and then people start being more mindful shoppers. That'll benefit them, their finances, and the environment, which is what we care about. So my personal opinion is it shouldn't be called underconsumption core, because it's more like normal consumption, which, yeah, it could be called like conscious consumption or low income or low waste. But I guess those are kind of already a thing, and it's all kind of intertwined in its own little like globe of things. But don't do it as a trend. If it's something you actually care about, then implement it into your everyday life. Don't do things just because they're trending, and try to be a little bit more mindful about where your money goes, how whatever you buy is going to impact you in the future and the environment in the future. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have on this conversation. Not the longest video, not super in depth. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory of a topic, but I want to hear your thoughts on it as well. And then I'm probably going to make a video more in depth on cores in general and kind of break down like what a core is and why it's promoting overconsumption in some way, shape, or form. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you enjoyed my little mini yap sesh here. Be sure to subscribe and thumbs up my video for more content, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!